Jack. Participant.
World. I just try to state the intention for me personally that fear is not going to run my life, and that fear is not going to be the way that I live my life. And when I'm coming from a position of fear, I try to let that go. I also think that we're operating a little bit from the level of desire right now. When I think about, and I'm just speaking for myself, y'all. I mean, I desire some contact physically with other people on some level. I want a hug. I have not been hugged in so long. I'm really craving a hug. I can tell you that being the extrovert that I am, it's very hard for me to be this still, and I'm just speaking personally for me. It's hard for me to be this isolated because I am very much an extrovert, and I am very much about other people. And so I know that one of the emotions that I felt is desire. And desire, if we take what Hawkins said, now remember, fear, desire, anger, pride. That's the way it works up. Pride is stronger than anger. Anger is stronger than desire. Desire is stronger than fear. So you're doing better in desire than you are in fear. But basically, desire is a craving, and it's like being addicted to a substance that you can't ever get enough of. Okay? So here's what Hawkins says about desire. There is a great deal of energy available at this level, motivating a major portion of human activity, including the economy. Interesting, right? Because boy, are we feeling that one. And a lot of the fears around the economy. This level is insatiable. It is an addiction. Money, prestige, or power runs the lives of the many, finding value in things outside of themselves. See, that's why I was saying this is like satisfying the small self, which is that which is outside of you, not nurturing your inner genius and what's so great inside of you. And so I do think we all have inner genius. And when we're operating from the higher energy fields, we begin to activate that inner genius that's inside of us. And we begin to self-actualize and to experience the outcomes that we crave. Okay, so then above desire is anger. All right. I don't know about you all, but you know, I've been a little angry about this. I've been angry with people that aren't doing what they're told to do, that puts others at risk. I've been angry with not understanding the origins of this disease or this virus, and even somewhat with all the political business surrounding it. I've definitely had some frustration about this. Well, again, what I'm going to say to you is that the best way to manage that is to say, okay, I'm frustrated right now. I'm angry. Acknowledge it. Don't suppress it. By the way, I want to share a side story for you all in a minute about this experience and something that's done for me over the last few weeks. But if you read anger, this is what it says. Desire leads to frustration, which in turn leads to anger. It is the fulcrum by which the oppressed eventually catapult to freedom. These individuals are volatile, dangerous, irritable, and explosive. Hate fuels violence. I think that as I've thought about the different levels and where we're most likely to be impacted, at least those of us that are not directly impacted by coronavirus, but really trying to stay safe. And I'm going to speak to those of you in that position right now. Those are the emotions that we're most likely to feel: fear, desire, and anger. And I want to tell you, and I'm going to give you a personal story about the map of consciousness. So a little bit over a year ago, my wife and I were sent home. We came home to this exact river house that I've been quarantined in for the last 5 weeks. Basically, we were told that Cindy had a few weeks left to live, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and that she should go into hospice. And I can tell you that none of us were prepared for that because this all happened very quickly. And I watched my wife pass away over a period of weeks. And it was one of the most unbelievably difficult experiences that I've ever been through or ever imagined going through in my lifetime. Now, what I want you all to know is that when she passed away on May the 14th, 2019, I ran. And I'm just going to tell you guys that I ran from this house. I ran from our Austin home. I bought a condo in downtown Austin. I moved into a penthouse condominium. I didn't go to the river house for any extended period of time. Only spent a couple of days here at Christmas. This was our Christmas house always. And I basically went on this escape from feeling all the emotion that I felt. And even though I've studied the map of consciousness for years and read Letting Go 13 times, I can tell you that I didn't process a lot of the grief that I felt. And I got back to this house 5 weeks ago with my daughter, same exact time of the year as a year ago with Cindy. And I went through about a week and I just felt so uneasy. I can't even describe how uneasy I felt at the time. And my, I'm gonna, probably feel a little sadness as I share this story, but I think it's important to share because I think we all deal with this sort of thing on different levels. That I began to recognize how much I had suppressed and how much grieving I had not allowed, I had not processed, and I had done everything I could to escape from. And I called a good friend, and like I can't even express how much I was feeling that emotion of loss that I hadn't processed. And it's like tears came and came and came and came. And I realized that this was my time to process that grief. Some of you who know me, I guess Ashley would know this for sure, because you've been to my condo at the W, Ashley.
Oh yeah, the Liberace condo.
And you've been to the River House.
Yep.
And you've even been to my Austin house, the Mount Larson house. And you know that I never spent a night in the Mount Larson house after Cindy passed away. Not one night in my home. I went straight to the W and bought a condominium and closed 2 days later and moved in that second night.
Effective running.
Yeah, real effective running, right? So I have to tell you that no matter the reason I share this story, and I think it's extremely relevant to what we're talking about, particularly as it relates to managing our emotional state and understanding the vibratory field that our emotions attract and our feelings generate, the outcomes they generate, and what we personally experience. And I have to tell you that I have been through a tremendous amount of healing over the last few weeks that had this experience, this pandemic not shown up for me, I still wouldn't have processed because I'd still be running. What I would invite all of you all to do is to process and to get still. Before we had this call, I'd set my timer for 8 minutes and I just closed my eyes and I meditated and prayed for 8 minutes. I think this is a time where we as leaders have to stop looking outside of ourselves, and we need to manage what's inside of ourselves so that we can be the best leaders for the people that we lead. I even was listening to Ryan Holiday's Stillness is the Key when I was exercising this morning. And I woke up thinking about Winston Churchill, which is so weird because I never wake up thinking about Winston Churchill. But I do have these books in my office that are, Gary Keller actually gave them to me. They're Winston Churchill's memoirs. And I never read them. So I woke up this morning thinking, well, Mark, maybe it's time to read Winston Churchill. Well, I'm on this, vigorous run, and I'm outside, and it's a beautiful, crisp, cool morning. And I'm listening to Ryan Holiday, Stillness is the Key. And Ryan Holiday says that after World War I, that Winston Churchill went into political exile. And he was in political exile for 10 years and then was brought back in to fight Hitler as the Prime Minister of Great Britain. And so when I got home, after hearing this, I looked it up. And what Ron Holiday said was that Winston Churchill said that every prophet has to go to the wilderness. This is specifically what he said. Every prophet has to come from civilization, but every prophet has to go into the wilderness. He must have a strong impression of a complex society and all that it has to give. And then he must serve periods of isolation and meditation. This is the process by which psychic dynamite is made. And I thought, you know, we're all somewhat in our wilderness right now. I believe that as leaders, we have to be still. We have to get quiet inside. We have to get centered so that we're coming from the highest level possible, so that we're attracting the best attractor field vibratory outcomes we possibly can, but also so that we can effectively lead the people that we lead who are probably for the most part in a lot of fear and a lot of pain right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. All we have is now, and the only thing I know to do in the now is to be still when things get difficult. One of the best experiences I had in 2017 was I got to spend a day one-on-one with Michael Singer. Some of you may know who Michael Singer is. Michael Singer wrote the book, The Untethered Soul. He also wrote the book, The Surrender Experiment. And I remember one experience with Michael Singer that it'll stay with me forever. I'll never let go of this. And he said, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to silently count to 10. And he said, now open your eyes. Mark, who was it that counted to 10? And I said, me. And then he asked a follow-up question. He said, who was it who saw you counting to 10? And I said, well, that was me. And he said, I believe that was God. And he said, we all have that observer that sees what we're doing. And I do believe that if we can just get quiet and do what we know we need to do, we know what we should do, and we don't avoid what we don't want to do that we know we should do, and we do that, then we're behaving in a way, we're acting in a way where we're in alignment with our divine selves. And I think that right now is the time to get aligned with yourself. Just do what you know you should do. Don't avoid what you don't want to do. Most definitely don't avoid what you don't want to do. Do it anyway. And do it with gratitude to serve other people and to help other people at the highest level. And that's what I know to do. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I will say this, you guys know that I love leadership, and I love John Maxwell's 21 laws, irrefutable laws of leadership. I look at my 21 laws every day, and the three that stand out the most to me right now are the law of the inner circle. Who you spend the majority of your time with will determine your life right now. Please be around positive people. Please be around people that uplift you. Please do everything you can to fill your vessel with hope, optimism and belief, and a positive belief in the future. Because everything's going to be okay overall. I would say that the other one that stands out to me is the law of victory. We have got to find a way for our followers to win. We have to help them win. They need a win right now. And every day I think, how do I help others in a meaningful way? And the law of victory is something that I've claimed that I will have victory over this, and that I will do everything in my power to help others have victory over this. There's nothing that anybody has asked me to do where I have not tried to show up and serve in that way, and to offer service to others, and to show them that victory is ahead of us. The third law that I believe in is the law of the picture. People have got to be able to see that everything is going to be okay. They have to see it, and you have to help them see it as their leader. And with that having been said, I can tell you that I would say, if you need help, this would be the last thing I would say, and then we can open this up for a question and answer, because I'm a real believer that anybody who talks for longer than 30 minutes is probably over-talked their welcome. That I would say that right now, if you need help, if you personally need something, you should ask for it. Don't just isolate yourself from the world. Don't become inhibited, like Hawkins talked about, in fear. Ask for help if you need it. I just have to tell you that I share that story about grief, and I told you I called a friend, and I called a friend because I needed help. I had to process this. And if there's something where you need help, ask for help. You are so fortunate to have such a great community. And I want to tell you something. I haven't been at Keller Williams for a few years, but I still own a market center. I still own a region, and I love the company. And I believe in Gary Keller as a leader. And I have to tell you, I love all you guys. And so this has been such an interesting few weeks, because I think it does bring back together what belongs together on some level. I know yesterday I was on a Zoom Easter communion with a group of dear friends, and the majority of them were KW people. I just know that, I, on so many levels, have such great respect for each and every one of you and what you do. And I have such great respect for Gary and his ability to lead the company. And I want you guys to know, although you haven't heard from me in a while, I'm doing great. And I still have to say, there's not a day that goes by where I don't have gratitude for Keller Williams and all that it's done for me and meant to me in my life. So you guys are in a great place. That's what I have to say for right now. Now, when you start asking questions, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to stay within Ashley's time frame that she's.
I got all day.
Yeah, well, I don't know that everybody does, but I sure am willing and open, and would love to talk about anything that you guys would like to talk about, where I can help you, or where you can help one another, or you can help me.
First, Mark, before anybody else chimes in, I want to say thank you for sharing that, because not very long ago you were in avoidance mode, and which I learned a lot from also, because sometimes you do just need to escape. But that was big. Thank you for sharing it. And I'm glad you've gotten.
Well, I'm not healed. I will tell you, I did make one decision, and that is that I'm going to get help to deal with some of the stuff that I've suppressed, because I think I knew I was suppressing it, but I think I had to suppress it because I think it just would have been too painful for me to deal with at the time. And I'm grateful that I got to process it in the same exact setting that I was in a year ago at the same exact time under very similar quarantine conditions. It just was our quarantine. It was not, the world. I do think that, that the universe, when we have a lesson to learn, this is one of my core beliefs. When we have a lesson to learn, the universe comes to us and it whispers, hey, you may want to do something about this. And then if you're like me, you may not listen. And then the universe is going to come back to you and it's going to say, hey, you may want to do something about this, dude. And if you're like me, you may not listen. And then the universe comes to you and taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, pay attention. You might want to learn from this. And if you're like me, you don't listen. The universe comes at you and it just knocks you the hell over.
Well, a week from today is your birthday, and you are a Taurus. You dig in.
Yeah, I'm stubborn. Yeah. So then it gets to the point sometimes where we have to be knocked flat on the ground before we listen. And I think that this pandemic has been somewhat just an external representation of that phenomena that goes on inside of all of us. And what I mean there is that I think on some level that I knew that that something wasn't right. And I felt like we've lived in such a self-involved, externally focused world that we've neglected our internal needs. And this is a real opportunity to do that. And that's what it gave me this time around. By the way, I want to share with y'all, this is my book, The Call to Evolve. It's actually about 70,000 words. It's in final editing. And I really am kind of digging it now. I am going to be teaching a class once a week on each chapter, and that'll all be pushed out through my social media. And it will be on Zoom. And so I'm, this can be ongoing. Anyway, more questions. Ashley, did you want to do something with this?
I don't see questions over here. I see a lot of people who miss you a lot. You may own Market Centers. I think you own a few hearts on here too.
Let's see, I'm looking around because I just saw the first few people who came in. I see a lot of people.
It's been interesting on these Zooms for the last week. People are so shy, and they're not typically, but.
Well, you know what? I understand that. This is a lot of people, and the one thing that I know actually is that it's sometimes easier when you're the moderator than when you're a participant, particularly because you have a real clear role when you're the moderator.
Yeah.
But when you're a participant, you're not really clear on what your role is. And one of the things that I've recognized is that with this, kind of the Zoom technology, for those of us that, are like, I'm gonna be 59 next week. For those of us that are a little older, this technology is just not as simple as it might be for those of you who've lived with it your whole lives. And so I just have to say that, I was on this big Zoom call yesterday, and there were over 50 participants on it for this Easter communion that we all did together, which really required that you just bring really good wine to the communion. But we did.
We should have made that a prerequisite for
we had
today.
We had a soloist who sang "What a Wonderful World" with the live bass player, and we did some prayers and that sort of thing. But my point is that yesterday it was interesting to watch the people that haven't been using Zoom. I've been using Zoom 5 times a day minimum for meetings like this, almost, all day long, every day. And so I'm finally used to it, but y'all should have seen me the first time I did it. It was because this is not natural for those of us that didn't grow up this way. So
well, here, I'm scrolling up at the comments. There are some questions. So let me go back. If you feel that you're in between or experiencing 2 of the emotional levels in the map of consciousness, how do you determine which one to really focus on to move forward?
the lowest one. I mean, if I would say that the thing to resolve is whatever the lowest level emotion that is let's distinguish. Is it an emotion that is an intermittent emotion that just from time to time you just feel a little bit and you just have to go, oh, okay, well, that's fear. I need to acknowledge that and I need to move on. Or is it something that you're feeling all the time that, in other words, I would say, go to the lowest level emotion that you feel frequently, and even look beyond your conscious mind a little bit and try to pay attention to what patterns go on subconsciously. They say that the conscious mind, if you picture an iceberg, I've always liked this analogy the best because it's so simple. The conscious mind is like the tip of the iceberg. That's all it is, just the tip. So the subconscious mind is everything beneath the tip of the iceberg, which is, 95% of the iceberg. So watch patterns that show up. I think that, just try to stay aware of what's going on. Pay attention.
Okay. What's this is from Kelly. What's the number one biggest lesson you're learning during this time?
Oh boy, that's an interesting one. What is the number one most important lesson that I'm learning? The number one lesson for me is how precious a life is, how precious a human life really is. And beyond that, I would say the lesson that I try to focus on learning the most constantly is that we're all part of a collective consciousness. And there is a oneness to consciousness. And then I would say that the third, that just right off the top of my head, is be gentle with myself. Because I'm not always gentle with me. I'm way more gentle with other people than I am with me. I'm pretty hard on me. And so I've had to learn to be a little gentler with me, because I can be very self-critical, and I can, I'm very type A. I like to win. I like to push. I think a lot of us on this call are probably wired in a very similar fashion. And I really don't like the word no. So
it's temporary, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So let's see.
We got more.
I'll ask the question.
I love Brene Brown, Barbara. I have read Brene, and I need to meet Brene Brown. I'd like to spend some time with her for sure. Someone asked me how I'm staying healthy, or what am I doing to stay healthy?
That's JoJo.
Is that Joanne Madelon? Is that what's happening down there? Yeah, I see you in red. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I guess I'm doing the best I can do under the circumstances.
Right. Right. This really filled up my soul. Thank you so much for your time today.
I love that. It's great to see you. Great to see all of you. So what am I doing to stay healthy? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I get out and get about 4 to 5 miles a day in, and then I work out with, resistance or whatever, even body weight stuff, 4 or 5 days a week. I eat healthy. But I like red wine, so that's my vice. So I've got to be able to do all that stuff so I can drink red wine.
How's the wine cellar doing? You getting low?
Oh man, I'm telling you.
God forbid.
I wouldn't want anybody to see my trash can.
Zoom happy hours are dangerous.
Anyway, I will say this. I am going to bed early and I'm waking up early, and I am scheduling my first meeting at 7 a.m. So that, I have a bit of a routine, and that helps me tremendously. Mark without a routine is a dangerous thing. Okay, let's see. Yes, wine is good for the soul. Red wine. Yeah.
Mark, what's I know you said that routine and all that. What's bringing you joy these days? Like, what's making you belly laugh these days?
What a great question. So,
Funny memes.
well, for a while the memes were good. Now I'm kind of done with the memes. Like, please don't send me any memes. Right now, what gives me joy is helping people. Probably first and foremost. And what brings me joy is knowing that my family is safe, the people I love are safe, my friends are safe, and that we're going to get through this. And I believe that most of us are going to be better as a result. In the end. But yeah, helping people has been maybe my favorite thing to do. Having this book finished, this has done a lot to bring me joy, because it got out a lot of stuff. The one thing that's not in that book is processing grief.
Interesting.
And so we're having to put a little forward in it that deals with that tells the story, because really the reason I named, I had a book and it had the full outline, had it done, and then Cindy got sick. And I have this dear friend, and he said to me, Mark, this is your call to evolve. And for some reason, when he said that to me, it's like everything shifted in a moment. And I think that this coronavirus pandemic for us is a call to evolve as leaders, to evolve as, human beings who are experiencing their best life possible, working from the inside out, not the outside in. And a lot of this book is about working from the inside out so that you can unleash and express your inner genius. And I do think that we are in a true call to evolve right now. And that's what this represents.
Mark, here's a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions do not speak naturally with logic. How would you encourage us to get these in alignment on an hourly, daily basis?
I would say meditate. What was it? I love the Wayne Dyer story. Wayne Dyer said that, I think he had he had 6 kids and then an adopted kid or 2. So I think it was like a total of 8 kids or something like that. And he said, his kids were driving him crazy and they were all screaming. They're all teenagers in the house at the same time. And he said, he went to Deepak Chopra and he asked Deepak Chopra, he said, I can't do this any longer. Deepak looked at him and he says, Wayne, meditate. Yeah, there's a spiritual solution to every problem. at that one, and the law of intention, the power of intention for me is one of my very, very favorites. And intention for me works very much hand in hand with the map of consciousness. The one thing that I always try to remember is that the hardest person to lead is yourself. Why is that? Because we judge other people by their actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions, right? You guys who knew me 5 years ago heard me saying the same exact thing 5 years ago. It's not a new message. Well, I think what we need to know is what are our intentions in order to put us on the right map of action. And so I would say one thing to focus on is what are the intentions that you have, and what are the actions that will lead you closer to being able to make those intentions your experience.
All right. How about, can you explain your thoughts between being honest and real with your people versus being positive? Some seem to think truth and positivity are mutually exclusive these days.
I think that people need hope right now. And
That's why you're here.
I think that people absolutely need to feel that they're not alone. And I think that they need to be listened to right now. I actually did a little research the other day. Let me see if I can find it in my notebook. But I looked up what does it mean to be an inspiring person? Okay, so here's what defines being an inspiring person. I did this for a Zoom I was on just the other day. 1, inspiring people believe in themselves first. So I'd say you better believe in yourself first. And then they have a strong and convicted belief in the goodness and the strength of other people. 2, behind all this self-confidence and supporting this belief in other people is a lot of hard work with the willingness to do whatever it takes. 3, they carry themselves and their ambitions with great passion, enthusiasm, optimism, and a positive view of the future. What are the qualities of an inspiring person? Number 1, they listen to other people. Can't inspire without understanding. Number 2, they express unerring positivity. Number 3, they express gratitude and are grateful. Last 2, they communicate impeccably and they are trustworthy. So I would say that, what you're saying, Ashley, I think of the DISC, and I think the people that are probably saying that you're not being realistic because you're being optimistic are low eyes. And I would say the people that are saying that it's better to be optimistic are probably high eyes. I think it's just behavior playing itself out like it does every single day in all communication. I think you've got to be true to yourself. To thine own self be true. And if you're a positive person, by all means, stay positive. And if you're a realistic person, bring a voice of reason. But be true to who you are and know thyself. I'm a positive person. I don't know that I am going to be able to be who I need to be for others without a positive belief system.
I've never met anybody who sees the best in people like you do. I think for me, that's your greatest character trait.
Yeah. Well, I love people. You know, I think we need to express love right now. And we need to allow ourselves to be loved right now. Because I think, you know, love is the ultimate intention of the universe. Manifest the highest good possible in every situation and to practice love. And if you'll come from that intention, and that's what all the time I just say, my intention is manifest the highest good possible in every situation and to express love. And to allow myself to receive love, which for me is harder than expressing love sometimes.
So this one's going to be a short answer. Vinny in my office asked, have you always been a leader, even as a child?
Always.
Done.
Always.
All right. And then Barbara McNeil, I love this because I hadn't had the visual in a while. She said, my high D and I fight with each other. Tow truck. Tow truck.
Yeah, well, if we were in a different office, I would have a tow truck behind me. This is my River House office, and I don't have my tow truck here. But let me tell you, I need that tow truck to pull my Vector 3 up, particularly right now. For those of you who are AVA fans, you'll know what I'm talking about. But for those of you that don't remember don't know the AVA because you've always said the KPA, I want to share that one of the greatest parts of the AVA was, for me, was Vector 3. And Vector 3, if you're high Vector 3, you're methodical, you're process-oriented, you're conservative. On the low end, you are an ADD, spastic, variety-focused, diversity-focused, moving with too much urgency all the time. Yeah, I see somebody, JoJo, saying 86519. Well, I'm 8714 with a double asterisk on the low 3. So what I always had to do was artificially pull my 3 up to be a little more patient, to be a little more methodical, to be a little more conservative, to not need so much variety. And I'll tell you that the tow truck was my reminder to artificially yank that 3 up. So yeah, I think for Barbara McNeil, I'd say if you're aware of your own behavior, you might be able to keep yourself from getting into situations that, you know, you'd have to get more than a tow truck to pull you out of.
So Mark, I guess we do have some other questions that are coming in from Facebook. I know we are at a time, so if you don't mind, I'll send you those and maybe have you back in the next month or so if we're still here.
I love that. Yeah, so good, so great to hang out with you all. You really made my heart smile in a big way, and I just want to say I love you guys. And it's just been a blast. And thank you, Ashley, for having me. And
thank you for saying yes.
Mwah.
Love you.
I love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, Mark.
Bye.
Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye. Hi, Evie. I never figure out how to, like, when I'm leaving, babe.
That was amazing.